Slimehouse TV, myself, Theo Kane, hope everybody is good, hold tight everybody that's locked in, everybody that's supporting. So today's episode is another one of them that kind of started out as one thing and then became a little bit bigger than I intended it to be. And I don't know why I do this to myself, but you know that I love it, so stick with me, and I'm looking forward to showing you the final results. Let's do this! So what I've got here is a 1983 combat attack set for a Mr. T figure from the toy company Galoob. Now back in the late 70s and early 1980s, these kind of boys action dress-up dolls were really popular. Palitoy had the Action Man, Dennis Fisher had $6 Million Man, and Galoob had this guy, the 12-inch Mr. T doll.
Mr. T, he's got legs and moves, he's 12 inches high. Mr. T, he's got a real cool haircut and a mean look in his eye.
So there was actually a couple of different versions of this figure, which I'll talk more about later. But then they also released these two separate outfit packs. The Fire Rescue set, which I do already have displayed on a figure, and then this one, the Military Combat Attack set. Now you might have already seen me show off this pack in a video already, because it featured in my 2023 early pickups video that I dropped recently. And if you watch that, you'll know that I did originally see this down at Nerdbase in London when I was toy hunting down there earlier in the year, and it was one of them that I saw and I was interested in, but by the time I'd left the shop I forgot that I'd even seen it, and it wasn't until I was editing the footage back that I saw it and was like, oh, I wish I'd have picked that up. But at this point I'm back in Sheffield, which is hours and hours away from Nerdbase, so I've kind of missed my opportunity now. But then a few months later, I saw that my friend Ryan from Rise Toys and stuff was actually down at Nerdbase doing a toy hunt himself, and I asked him to pick it me up if it was still on sale, and it was, so he picked it up and sent it to me, and I've been buzzing to get it on a figure ever since. Now normally, I don't actually like opening old toys. I feel like it's our duty as toy historians and toy lovers to keep them preserved. But this is a set that would normally be really hard to track down loose and complete with all these individual accessories. And it's also one that would look so good displayed on a figure, so I purposely bought this card, knowing that it was a bit yellow and a little bit busted up, and because of all that, it makes me feel not as bad about opening it. Now like I said, I do already have the Fire Rescue outfit, that's displayed on a figure already, and I do have a couple of other Galoob Mr. T's which I'll tell you about later, but I didn't have a spare body for this outfit. So since I got it, it's just been sat on my shelf, displayed as it is, waiting for me to get a Mr. T figure in so I can bust it off the card and put it on him. Which is why I was buzzing when I saw that recently my friend Johnny from Monkey's Toy Emporium had one for sale cheap on his website. So today is the day that we're going to crack this outfit open and finally get it on a figure. I've seen these outfits displayed before in photos and they always look awesome, so I'm looking forward to getting my own version to display on my shelf, in my toy room, in my collection here at Slimehouse HQ. First thing I want to do is check whether this was a talking Mr. T or not. There is a version of this that has a pull cord coming out the back of its neck, and when you pull it, it says phrases like Woody from Toy Story, and it's hard to tell whether they're just a standard one or a talking version because they all have this hole in the back of their neck, and sometimes people have just pulled the cord off. Now this does feel a bit light, but it's always worth a check anyway. And as suspected, there's no voice box inside this one. What's also interesting though, is that this little plug that fills the hole in the back of his neck is a little bit fatter than the hole in the neck of the other ones that I've got. So they must just randomly have a bit of size variation in the sizing of these things when they made them. Not really that important, but interesting to note for all the toy nerds out there like me that like to know this shit. So taking a look at the actual outfit on the card, like I said, the packaging is not in the best condition anyway, and judging by the look of the glue that's holding the bubble down, it's probably not going to take that much effort to prise it open, which is nice because I would like to do as little damage to this card as possible. Like, I still respect the fact that this is an old toy. I don't just want to rip it off the bubble like a madman, so if I prise it off ever so slightly, I'll be able to remove the outfit from the packaging and then still keep the card somewhat display worthy. Well, so far so good. The bubbles slid out no problem. The rest of the uniform's just held in with these shitty pieces of dried up yellow tape, which is almost falling off anyway, so I'm very happy that I've been able to get this thing out without causing too much destruction. So this whole outfit is based on an old school late 70s, early 80s US Marine, and it's got a few accessories, these brown snap-on boots, a couple of belts, an M16 and a missile-firing bazooka. He's also got this helmet with a 3-arrow chevron on the front, which means at some point this Mr. T figure got promoted to a sergeant. So the uniform does fit real nice. These figures though, they do have really poor articulation, and because of this, the uniforms don't go on and off very easy. Unlike a figure with ball joints like an Action Man doll, this toy's arms just rotate on a single peg. Just one of the reasons why they're not actually a very well made figure. Not that I don't love them, but there's definitely some things about this figure that do really hold it back. And that limited articulation for this kind of action dress up doll is definitely one of those things. The bandolier as well that goes around his chest is a little bit small, like a good few centimeters too small, and it feels like it could just burst off at any time. And again, because of the limited arm articulation, you can't actually drop his elbow down all the way without it catching on the gun that's fixed to his belt. Again, only small details, but definitely design flaws worth noting. Now, because you can't actually take the shoes off the original doll, and because they don't have any articulation in his feet either, the boots in these accessory packs are more like snap-on armor pieces that go over the top of the original sculpted sneakers. Which I'm sure was just done to save money on sculpting and engineering at the time, which would be pretty sound back then, but because of the cheap plastic that they used, and because it's a specific type of cheap plastic that deteriorates over time, these boots have a tendency to split, so I'm a bit apprehensive about using them on this figure at all. You see, I've literally had this exact pair of boots break apart in my hands before when I've tried to put them on a Mr. T figure, and that's obviously not something that I want to happen today with this pair, so I'm just going to have to be extra careful with them. So the right foot went in no problem, but this left side definitely doesn't feel like it's even supposed to fit, and weirdly it was the left side that split on that first pair that got destroyed. So there's no way that I'm going to try and push this and force it. I'd rather cut his whole foot down before I split another pair of these boots. Oh, okay, well that's just saved me a lot of hard decision making. Basically his foot's just snapped in half. Which normally would be fucking harrowing, but in this instance I think it might actually be a blessing. It's a little bit sharp now, but having half of that foot broken away means that it should fit in here a lot better. So if I get my Dremel and smooth that down a little bit, this should fit in there now, no problem. You know a mad thing about Mr. T as well, while we're talking about his shoes, is that even though he wore all these gold chains around his neck, and obviously had money, he used to wear the same pair of busted up trainers for years. And whenever they got holes in them, he'd just patch them up with duct tape, and he said this was to always remind him where he came from, so no matter how much gold he wore around his neck and his wrists, and no matter what circles he were moving in, he could always look down and remember his roots. Absolute G shit. So just going back to the sanding down of his trainers, I started out with some real rough sandpaper and worked up to a nice soft buffing cup. This is to make the edges nice and soft and round and smooth. The only problem with this is that it fires little tiny white fibres everywhere. So if you see any little bits of cotton or fluff all over this figure in any of the video moving forward, this is why. And yeah man, it fits like a glove. It looks like he's got fucking trench foot, but it fits perfect. Just taking a look at his weapons again, like I said, he does have an M16, which is also a real bad design flaw because it's got this stock at the back, which means it doesn't fit in his hand properly, so he has to grip it at an angle. And then he's also got this bazooka, which he doesn't hold at all. I think you're supposed to fire that. But I put the rocket inside it and it feels like it got stuck and doesn't want to come out, so I'm not even going to fucks with that. This thing's old, I don't want to break it. Like I said, it's all made from real brittle plastic, it's not worth it. But that's the figure complete. That's the whole outfit there in its entirety. But one thing you might notice is that he doesn't have earrings and he doesn't have chains round his neck. Mr. T's earrings and chains are iconic. Now, normally I would want this complete. I would want him with his earrings and with his chains, and I would hold off until I found one that had them. But when I saw that Johnny was selling one on his website, I like to support him, so I thought, you know what, I'll get that, and when I've got it in hand, I'll make a decision what I'm going to do about his chains and earrings. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Well, that time is right now. I've got this thing here. It's uniforms on it, and I want it looking nice and display worthy, and also good for the final reveal of the video. So, what am I gonna do? At first I thought about maybe trying to use real feathers and seeing what I could get hold of, but time is ticking and I haven't got time to go bird feather shopping. I do have a bunch of old Action Man and Guyper Man Native Americans that my dad gave me, and mixed in with that collection is a bunch of customs he made, and amongst all that stuff is a load of Mark's Native Americans and Lone Ranger pieces, but no feathers, nothing that's not already being used for something. Now if you've watched my other videos recently, you'll know that I'm a decent sculptor and 3D printer. But I didn't want to try and bother printing little brittle feather earrings, so I figured my best course of action was sculpting them from green stuff. So green stuff is very handy. It's actually made by the Games Workshop that do Warhammer, but you can get other non-branded versions. You mix the yellow together, you mix the blue together, it turns green. It's very durable, it kind of goes wherever you want it to, and after about 6 hours it dries like solid plastic. So I took some beads that I had lying around, fitted them into some rivets, making sure that the pegs on them were the same dimensions as Mr. T's ear holes, and then on top of those pins, started trying to sculpt some real crude looking Mr. T earrings. Now quite often when I'm doing anything like this, I obsess over every little detail and I try and make them perfect, and in many ways it kind of sucks the fun out of the projects in the end, and I really don't want to do that with these. So I just went in very free and easy, just having fun with it, trying not to think too much and just making something that feels like it could exist in one of these old Mr. T Galoob sets. I'm also making a second pair of earrings as well. I've got another doll that I'm going to show you shortly that I thought while I was making this one I might as well make two and get a couple of unfinished customs finished while I'm working on this one. So all that's left to do now is get them all painted, add some chains and some other fine details, and I'll catch up with you at the end of the video for the final reveal. So there you have it, the Mr. T Combat Attack set, complete with neck bling and custom one-off earrings. So the beads that I used for these things were just some that I had lying around, and at first I thought they might be a bit too big, but now that they're painted up and fitted onto the earring and into the side of his head, I think they look fine. For this set, I also went for red, white and blue feathers, giving him some American Marine patriotic vibes, and I'm actually really happy with them. It's always nice when something comes out way better than you expected. I love it when a plan comes together. For the chains around his neck, I just doubled up a bunch of gold craft chains that I got from Amazon. I did really want some thicker ones, like the chains that the figures actually genuinely came with, but now that I've doubled these up and put them on the figure, if I do say so myself, these might even look a bit better. I did also give him an extra pistol, because the one that he's got is fitted inside his holster, so you can't take it out. Now this doesn't fit in his hand, but that's quite in keeping with the rest of the guns in this set, so in my opinion it fits better with the outfit that way. Now, like I said, I was also making a second pair of feather earrings because I had another figure that needed some, and that's this guy. Now, I don't know what this uniform's from. I just want to clarify it's not for a Mr. T figure, but my dad must have found this and noticed that it was a similar size to the Mr. T uniforms and put it on a figure anyway. It's a really nice uniform, but like I said, I have no idea what it's from, so if you do know, let me know in the comments below, because I'm stumped on it. Now, the boots that my dad had originally put on this figure were the brown pair that I showed earlier in the video that split when I tried to put them back on his feet, so he needed a new pair. And rather than trying to source some, because these figures are a very distinct size and shape, I thought I'll just try and make my own. So using Nomad Sculpt on the iPad, I sculpted some very simple ones myself, 3D printed them, and luckily they fit perfect. They snap on the front of his feet, very much like the armor-based snap-on ones that these figures already come with, and in my opinion they look awesome. Very happy with these. This is also a figure that I've had sat half finished for quite a while. My dad started it like 10 years ago, and then it's just been sat with me waiting for the right time for me to like pick it up again and work on it. So while I was making the earrings for the Combat Attack set version, I thought, you know what, I'll make a second pair for this one as well. Kinda like kill two birds with one stone. So for this set of earrings, I just painted them all red and did gold fittings on them. I also made him a bandana out of some scrap material that I had knocking about, because Mr. T wears bandanas, it's another one of his iconic looks, so I thought that would be nice and fitting for this figure. There was no gun in his holster, so I found a nice gun out of my spare bits box, and also a knife to put in his webbing. I gave him some of the same gold chains as the other Mr. T, and I also added this little American flag to his webbing just because I thought that it looked cool. So that's that. What started out as a very simple video of me just reviewing an old Mr. T outfit ended up me refurbishing two Mr. T figures from scratch basically, including one that was a custom that my dad started over 10 years ago. But looking at them both now, complete and finished, they're honestly two of my favourite things that I've created recently. If you enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to give it a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and go back and binge the back catalogue because there's a ton of content on here, and if you liked this video, you're probably going to like some of the other stuff that I've made as well. I'd also love to know your thoughts on today's video. What do you think of my Mr. T customs? This has also made me want to try and track down some more beaters, some more figures that are a bit broken or missing parts, and customize them into other versions of Mr. T. I'd love to do a Clubber Lang one, or maybe one in a tuxedo, like bouncer style. That would also be cool. And it's also made me want to track down the talking Mr. T, because I don't have that one in my collection. That's the one with the bare chest. He also has sculpted chains, like chains that are sculpted in plastic, not metal ones. So that's also something that's going to be on my radar from now on when I'm at the toy fairs and stuff. But like I said, if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to give it a like. And also, down below in the comments, every single Tuesday, we have lots of cool discussions with other like-minded people that love this stuff and love retro toys, love vintage toys, and love collecting. So if you're new, then please introduce yourself down below, because we've got an awesome community here on Slime House, and like I said, every single week we all chop it up in the comments below after, and it's a real cool place to talk about toys and discuss this hobby. If you've got any ideas for future videos that you'd like to see me delve into, future topics or future toy lines that you'd like to see featured on this channel, then again, please let me know down below in the comments. And also, if you want to hit me up but you don't want to do it publicly, the best place to do that is over on Instagram. Drop me a DM on there. You can also follow me on Instagram, because I put lots of exclusive pictures and I try and post on there as regular as possible. A lot more regular than I do here on YouTube. That's at Theo_Kane_Slimehouse. I've also got an Amazon wishlist that I only really plug when I'm doing crafty videos like this, where I do a bit of makes and things like that. So I've got an Amazon link that I'll put down below. There's some big stuff on there, there's some small stuff on there, but it's all crafty kind of stuff that helps me create these more like let's make kind of videos, and it's all very helpful. So that's also a link that you can click if you want to support me there. I've also got a Patreon. If you want to head over to patreon.com/SlimeHouseTV, you can become a Slime Alliance member or a Slime Renegade. There's a tier on there that allows you to get access to videos in advance and some exclusive updates and things as well. So that's also a really good place if you want to help support the channel. That's a good place to go and become a Slime Alliance or a Slime Renegades member. In the meantime, though, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm Theo Kane. I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, I'm gone. Pow!